Cobra. Oh well, I think you guys will forgive me. Everyone, it is a beautiful Saturday morning. It is the middle of December and it is 53 degrees out and perfectly sunny. So I just had to dust off the Corvette, which I have not really touched since I finished the ceramic coating on it a couple videos ago, and hopefully take it for one last drive this season. I got to burn out the rest of the 85 that's in the tank. But we are headed south to southern Massachusetts, or the South Shore of Massachusetts, which is actually where I used to live, to help a buddy work on his Lightning. So I figured, we've been working on my SVT Cobra. I figured you guys might want to see some SVT Lightning content as well. And the story behind this is my buddy Adam, he had a Lightning that him and another buddy, Josh, who's going to be there today as well, rebuilt a couple of years ago. Actually, it was probably 3 or 4 years ago at this point. And then Adam was involved in an accident with it like 2 years ago. And he basically just put it in his dad's house, you know, under a tarp, whatever, and then he bought a house and got busy with other stuff. And long story short, it's been sitting for a couple of years, but him and Josh found a complete Lightning donor frame because the frame on the other truck was twisted, and he is basically in the process of swapping everything to the donor good frame, and he's been working hard, you know, wire wheeling the frame, cleaning the frame, painting the frame, you know, doing all the while you're in there stuff that if you guys watch my channel you're familiar with, so that he can swap everything over to the clean frame. So I'm heading down there to help him today for a little bit, so I figured you guys might want to tag along. So we're cruising right now, we're ripping, it's a beautiful day, so let's get down there and see what Adam's got in store for us. Hey Josh, what are you doing over there? Get her?
Got her.
Shoo!
Got it.
we are back at the home base here, and I've been kind of running around doing a bunch of random stuff over the last 36 hours or so. But to recap, went down on Saturday, helped my buddy Adam and a couple other buddies work on his, what is it, 02 or 01 SVT Lightning. You saw we were working on getting the motor out. Worked there for a couple of hours, got the motor pretty much out of the truck with the exception of we were hung up on like one, I think it was the driver's side motor mount. It was late, we were tired, we were hungry, so we ended up calling it a night, going to get some dinner and a couple beers, and then yesterday, Sunday, Adam sent me a picture of it in the morning. He got the motor right out, so well on his way to getting that truck rebuilt. Thought you guys might want to see that, some other SVT of the same generation as the Cobra content. Then yesterday I was kind of shuffling some cars around, getting them ready for hibernation, which they are now in. Washed up the Camaro, put some stable in the tank. I drove the Corvette all the way down to Massachusetts and back. It was like the most miles I've put on it all year. Every year I say I'm going to drive it more, and every year it seems like I drive it less. But it was good to, you know, take it on a 2-hour each way trip. Absolutely killed it. Ran the ethanol out of the tank, put stable in the tank, filled it up at 93, and then ran it the whole way home. So she's good to go. I'll toss the battery tender on later. C8, Z06. This thing's got 100 miles on it. Have not driven it since Thanksgiving and probably won't drive it till spring now. We're almost Christmas here. So these cars are pretty much done for the season. It's always sad, but it is satisfying to get all three of them clean, spotless at once. They're all protected under their custom covers. So now we can focus on what you're here for, which is the Cobra. So we left off in the last video. If you guys haven't seen it, I'll leave it linked up here. But we basically got the motor completely ready to roll. I had plopped on the Eaton there to measure for belt length, which actually just showed up today. But we still got to take that apart and make sure that that thing's nice and clean. But the motor's done. Even off camera, I got the inner belt on there. A couple of you guys noticed that I forgot to do that. I noticed it while I was editing the video too, and ended up tossing it on, but no big deal. So inner belt's on. Basically waiting on us to get it in the car for the power steering pump and the AC compressor. So motor's looking awesome. It's basically ready to drop onto the K-member. Transmission side of things have not touched since it came out of the car 3-4 weeks ago. So this is our Tremec T56 Magnum, allegedly faceplated. We'll have to see. And it is just filthy. So I'd like to get this outside and power washed. Same thing with the bell housing, our cracked bell housing. It is just completely full of clutch material, just like the front cover is. This thing is just gross. So we got to get it cleaned up. Got the coolant crossover there as well because I want to refinish that. So basically, I think these are the last of the parts that we have to power wash and clean because, as you guys know, every single part on this motor, including the engine bay, was disgusting, and we can't be having that. And even though it is mid to late December at this point, somehow because of a storm that came up the East Coast today, it's like 60 degrees outside right now. It's dark, but it's 60 degrees out, so I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to push this stuff outside, fire up the power washer, get everything degreased, clean, so it can start drying, so we can prep it for paint probably tomorrow. Also, since the motor is just about ready to go back in, we can just, the engine bay is ready to go, right? Wrong. Look at this thing. Disgusting. Absolutely gross. So, all those years of oil leaks, just neglect, sitting outside. The K-member's covered in junk. So same thing here. I think I'm going to power wash this whole thing. Only problem is we can't push this thing outside. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to power wash it right here in the garage. I do have drains in my floor over there. I've done this with other cars before. And to protect the cars over here, I actually think I'm going to put up some like plastic, painter's plastic or whatever, just right there, just to keep the spray down, just in case. I don't want it all over that stuff. But yeah, I think I'm going to clean up the K-member, clean up the engine bay, and see if we can't get this, this transmission and all that stuff ready to go as well. So yeah, all that being said, let's get to work. Let's fire up the pressure washer, use about 17 gallons of degreaser and a little bit of elbow grease, and let's get the rest of this stuff cleaned up. Alright, we have got a lot done since I last checked in with you guys. It's the next day here. Where did I start yesterday? Oh yeah, power washing stuff. So first, transmission. Came out incredible. I was originally planning to power wash this and then paint it, but I mean, it looks basically perfect. And there's gonna be no finish that's as strong as the natural aluminum. So I'm gonna leave this. If we compare this to how it came out, or how it was 24 hours ago, I mean, it's really night and day here. You can actually see the difference in the casting color between the T56 Magnum tail housing, the regular T56, and then whatever faceplate or front plate they put on here. All the clutch material's gone. Got our throwout bearing sleeve nice and clean. I think this thing's ready to roll. I got a surprise for the shifter here, but I'm gonna save that until we're just about ready to mate this up to the car, or at least the transmission to the motor. But yeah, transmission came out awesome. There's a lot of scrubbing. Like I said, like a gallon of degreaser, but this thing is looking real nice. Same thing with the coolant crossover. Had some cleaning and prep work to do on that. Just gave it a fresh coat of gloss black, just like the factory would have, just how it came from the factory. So that's looking really good, just drying up right now. Engine bay is looking night and day as well. I got my plastic sheeting all up to protect the garage, and I just went to town with the pressure washer, degreaser, scrubbing. Look at the AC compressor. Couldn't even see this thing before. It was so covered in grease. Same thing with this trough down there. You can see the sonic blue metallic. That was literally like 1/8 of an inch of just grease and oil leaks and everything else. Looks brand new in here. That's not dirt down there. The paint, or the factory just didn't apply a whole lot of paint, down in those areas. So that's basically just thin paint and primer. But I mean, the areas you are gonna see like this looks incredible. Looks really good. Even came through here with some, quick detailer just to wipe up any final areas. Looks really good. K-member. If we go back to the footage of before I started this was basically black, and now it's, you know, clean as can be. A little bit of dust still on there that I can get off, but this area right here was just caked with dirt and mud and oil. Same thing with the rack. Went to town on that, nice and clean. Super clean under here, ready for a super clean motor to go in. And over here on the bench, I got the bell housing cleaned up equally as well. Scrubbing the inside of this was a task. There was so much clutch material in here, but got it done. And more importantly, busted out the TIG welder. Got my brand new torch on. Got to break this thing in. What is this? CK Worldwide torch. And fixed the crack that 175 of you commented on in the second video. So we got the crack in the bell housing completely welded up. And I couldn't be happier with how it came out. Aluminum welding is tricky enough as is. It's so important that the part that you're welding is surgically clean, and cast aluminum is just naturally dirty. So it's gonna pop and spit and get back at you if you don't get it perfectly clean inside and out, which because of the nature of the material is just hard to do. So I came through here with, you know, the original degreasing, then Scotch-Brite and hot water with Dawn dish soap, then the, you know, final wipe with acetone, and then I even preheated the area, and the welds came out really good. I mean, are there prettier welds on Instagram? Yep. Are there prettier welds of cast aluminum? I don't know. Cast aluminum is really, like I said, it's really difficult. So I haven't done too much cast aluminum welding, but this is definitely the best that I've done, and I'm pretty happy with it. She's welded outside, around the corner, inside, fully welded. Strong as anything, ready for many more years of service, and ready to be bolted up to the transmission. So the bell housing is done. One more thing crossed off the list. And I'll tell you, on a project like this, just little steps like that, you know, just crossing something somewhat major off the list, like fixing the bell housing, is going to add up on your projects. Just don't get discouraged by the size of your list. Just break it down step by step. I promise you it's going to make it better. Okay, what's next? You'll notice I got our freshly painted long tube headers on the bench. You may also notice this 304 stainless 2.5-inch V-band clamp. And my plan for this car and this motor, this brand new motor, is a custom exhaust. There's no way I was going to bolt up that nasty clap together, hack together H-pipe that was in the car with the SLP loudmouth mufflers. There's no way that was going back in. So I got a plan for a custom exhaust, and the first part of that custom exhaust right off the headers is going to be some stainless V-bands. So these will get welded on here, and then obviously our custom exhaust after there is going to be connected to there. The problem is these cannot be very easily or really at all welded once the engine is in the car. So long story short, these V-bands need to be welded onto the headers now before the headers go on the motor, before they can go in the car. So let's keep rolling. We've been making some good progress right now. While the welder is out and I got some fabrication tools out, I'm gonna make use of that, weld these V-bands on, and then we'll just see what else we get into. We got lots of stuff on the list. Let's start knocking it off. Good morning, everyone. It is been like 5 days since I've talked to you last. It's the day after Christmas right now, and I was just, as I'm sure most of you were, just crazy busy with getting ready for the holidays and then hosting the holidays and then being in multiple different places with multiple different sides of the family. So it's been a little while, but we've gotten a lot done since the last video. So let me bring you up to speed. So where we left off, the headers got the old flanges hacked off there. There's the ball and socket type flange, got those off. And for the ball and socket, they this neck down to like 2 inches or like 2 1/8 of an inch. So lopped that off. Now we got a full like 2 3/4 inch collector or something like that, which actually ended up making it kind of difficult because the OD of where I was welding to was actually a lot larger than the OD of these 2.5 inch clamps. So I had to do some banging and some large gaps to fill. Didn't have the right size filler rod, so not my prettiest welds, but doesn't matter. You can't see them. They're solid, and I had a little bit of extra VHT paint, so I painted those up. But we have got our 304 stainless V-bands welded at the correct orientation, ready for a custom exhaust to follow behind it once this is in the car. O2 sensors are installed. You guys probably won't be able to tell, but I spent a lot of time cleaning up all the factory studs for the headers. Obviously, a lot of times when you pull these things off, they come out with the stud. Had them soaking in transmission fluid for like 2 weeks. Spent some time with the wire wheel yesterday cleaning those up. So all those are installed. Brand new Ford multi-layer steel gaskets. Everything tight, good to go. Got our Motorcraft filter on there. I had to make a new chassis ground. The other one kind of crumbled in my hand when I took it apart. So had some extra negative battery cable laying around. That's good to go. Brand new motor mounts on both sides. And at the back of the head here, I think we've got something that probably 100 of you guys have mentioned in the comments. Yes, the head cooling mod. So those of you guys that are familiar with these motors from the factory, there's a freeze plug on the driver's side head. So basically the coolant comes through the head, kind of circles around up here, and then it basically deadheads at the back, which can lead to bubbles and excessive coolant temperatures and excessive head temperatures in 7 and 8 right here, which can cause valve guide wear, which can cause the head tick, and it also can cause excessive cylinder head temperatures and detonation, which is probably exactly what happened to my cylinder number 7 in the old motor. So the solution is what's called the head cooling mod, which simply involves knocking out the passenger side or driver's side freeze plug, which is right here, and replacing it with this CNC billet piece that allows the coolant to flow in a circle instead. What we replaced was, this is the factory setup. Goes right there, and then this just goes right to the heater core, and then this just kind of loops back to the water pump. So this basically completes the circle, allows for better coolant flow. The UPR kit included nice AN fittings. I think this is probably dash 10 billet pieces here. So it seemed like a very nice kit for the price. So that's the one that I went with. There's a whole bunch of different ones on the market, but this is one of those things where you'd be dumb not to do this while you're here. A lot of guys do this when you have a clutch or when you're doing a clutch, because you can't really get to this with the transmission in the way. But same thing if the motor's out. Very smart to do a head cooling mod to your Cobra or any 4-valve really while the motor is out of the car. So a lot of progress has been made since I last checked in with you guys. Might not seem like it, but put in quite a few hours yesterday on Christmas just because I was finally able to get some time to myself once all the family's left. But let's see, looking next at the list. So I think we are just about ready to plop our Eaton Supercharger back onto the basically completed long block here. But there's still a couple things we got to do before we do that. Over here on the bench, I got some parts dug out of the parts pile there. First thing, Supercharger oil. This is something that I think is the service requirement is about 100,000 miles on the Eatons, and that's exactly where we're at. And should be easy to swap the Supercharger gear oil while it's out. Ironically, it's a AC Delco Supercharger is what the spec calls for. So got some of that. Got our NGK TR6 plugs. 8 of them, can toss those in. The Cobras know all about the TR6s. Probably the best plug available for most common bolt-on setups for these cars. I've always had good luck with them, so got a set of those. Also, I told you guys I had something special for the alternator. The 03 Cobras are known for alternator issues. I've personally seen it many, many times. I've been down to Mustang Week in Myrtle Beach and helped a buddy change an alternator in the park, the AutoZone parking lot. Got the last Cobra alternator in a 100-mile radius. They're just known for it. They overheat, they're overspun from the factory. The Cobra pumps draw a lot of amperage. It's common, alternator woes. If you search Cobra, 03 Cobra alternator problems on Google, you'll probably hit, 1,500 old threads and this, that, and the others. Not to worry though, there's a guy in the Cobra community that has come up with a solution. So I have here, or at least should be in this box, I haven't opened it yet, a KMJ alternator for the 03 and 04 Cobra. KMJ stands for Ken Miley Jr. Ken, huge shout out to Ken for sending me this alternator. He's a fan of the channel and saw that the car still had the stock alternator and offered to help me out with one of his top of the line units. Hopefully will save me a lot of headaches in the future, knowing that we won't have any alternator issues. Then I've also got a Lightning Force Performance 3-inch alternator pulley here, which is going to be the correct drive for the pulley setup that we have. This was recommended by Ken as well. So let's get this thing unboxed, take a look at it, and see if we can't toss it on there real quick. Alrighty, got everything unboxed here, and looks like Ken was nice enough to send me his Big 3 wiring kit as well. As the name implies, I believe this covers the most important connections from the alternator to the battery or fuse panel, and then chassis to engine ground, which I really think I was just talking about. I think this is the connection I was just talking about that I had to remake. So too bad I didn't open this 12 hours ago. Looks like I got a brand new one from Ken in there. But yeah, looks like we got to make a connection from the engine to the frame, alternator to his 200 amp fuse here, which goes right to the underhood fuse panel, and then another ground from the engine bracket directly to the negative on the battery. Looks like we have some clearancing on the alternator bracket we need to do as well. Shouldn't be a big deal. All of his instructions are printed out here. I got my Lightning Force Performance alternator pulley on there, which is the same as I talked to Ken directly, but he has all the recommendations for alternator pulley bracket size right there as well. So super nice setup from Ken here. Thank you, Ken, once again for sending this. Should take care of all of our charging issues. Be sure to check out Ken's website, which is kmjmotorsports.com. I'll leave a link in the description as well. So yeah, let's get this alternator in, and some of this associated wiring, some of it we'll do once the engine's in the car, but let's get that in, and then we can kind of change gears and focus on the Eaton and getting this engine ready to go back in. Shoo! You got the KMJ alternator installed, Lightning Force Performance, billet 3.0 pulley, and we got the power wire that's going to come off the back of the alternator and ultimately go to the fuse box in the car on there. Just loose for now so I can figure out the orientation later, but quick grinding on the bracket. Other than that, this thing bolted right up. Looks good, and we know it's going to perform good. It's got the 3G, much larger case, larger alternator. It's going to allow it to spin at a lower speed, generate less heat, hopefully not burn up like the common Cobra alternators do. These things should be bulletproof. The rest of the wiring we can finish up once the motor's in the car. Should be very straightforward according to the instructions here. Huge shout out again to Ken for sending me this alternator. Check out the link in the description. If you're having charging problems with your modular Ford or any of the other applications he has on his website, be sure to check him out. Now we're going to shift gears to the cherry on top of the Ford 4.6 motor, and that is our Eaton Supercharger here. So as far as I know, this thing didn't have any problems, but based on the rest of the condition of the car when I got it, I think it'll be worthwhile to just split this thing, the supercharger itself from the lower intake manifold. I'm going to clean all the injectors with my Amazon injector cleaner thing that I bought. Going to clean all this stuff up down here, whatever that dirt and whatnot is. A little bit of the oil leaks here. We'll get that all cleaned up. We can inspect the rotors and just replace the base gasket there. I probably will check the condition of the O-rings that are in here that go into the intercooler as well. Going to do our oil change with my fluid extraction pump that I also got on Amazon. And I'll probably pop some spark plugs in the long block there to fully seal that up. Make sure you gap your plugs, guys, always. So yeah, let's keep plugging away here, get the supercharger split from the lower intake, oil change on the supercharger, and just keep crossing stuff off that list. Well, glad I took this apart. right, well, it is the next day here and we are making some progress. Got the Eaton setup completely blown apart here. So let me show you what I got done. So I'm really glad that I took this apart. One could have probably just bolted this on to the motor and been okay. Maybe, probably, but my OCD wouldn't let me do that, if you can't already tell. So I took this all apart and I'm really glad I did. As I showed in the B-roll footage, the turkey pan here, aka lower intake manifold, that the Eaton and intercooler combo drops into was disgusting. There was all sorts of material in here. I assume that's, you know, just stuff that made its way up from the old motor that had blown up. You know, piston material, bearing material, whatever you have, that was all in here. There's little pools of oil, which isn't totally, you know, uncommon, but still, it was just nasty. The outside was nasty, as I explained. There was some dirt and buildup like right down here. Just didn't look good, so I'm glad I took it apart to clean it at the very least. Same thing with the intercooler. This is, I believe it's a Garrett. Yeah, Garrett Honeywell. Garrett made this intercooler core for Ford. I got this thing just about as surgically clean as you can get one of these things. As you guys could see in the B-roll, the whole sides were just covered in oil and like literally dirt and piston material and just metal flakes and shards, and it was just not good. So brake clean the whole thing, power wash the whole thing, degrease, scrubbed, power wash all the way through the core. This thing is now surgically clean inside and out, ready to go. There's two tubes that come through here and then join into this housing here, which I'll show you in a second, but this housing faces up like this, and there was some black staining on the casting, and we couldn't have that because that is going to be visible when you open the hood. So gave that a quick coat of metallic silver, which is going to match our raw aluminum really well. That's going to bolt up right here. Got the Eaton surgically clean as well. This had years and years of oil leaks, front, back, just about everywhere. Now it looks basically brand new and going to look really presentable once it's in the car. And we got to take a look at the rotors as well. Those look really good. This thing spins really nice, and we can finish up our oil change as well. Oil change was messy because I tried to kind of, you know, use this thing that I bought on Amazon, this turkey baster or whatever, but it's really tight in here. Once you get in there, the rotors are basically right there. So I have the advantage of the blowers out of the car, so I ended up just letting it kind of sit vertical until it drained completely out. And then we're basically just going to fill it until it's level with this drain plug. But if you're doing this in the car, just make sure you get one of these things that's smaller than this guy or add an extension to this guy. But overall, the oil looked pretty good that came out. But these are like $8 each. I'll leave a link in the description for these. And probably worthwhile to do. Here's the tubes. One of them already got clean. That's this one. So you can see this is the old O-ring that comes out. This is what 20 years of abuse will look like. I mean, I'm surprised it lasted this long, but it is no good. You would not, and this is the one that I haven't done yet. These are the metal shards that you can see still on this one too. So this was everywhere in this lower intake. So I'm really glad that I took this out, but you can see these O-rings are totally flat compared to this one, which has a new O-ring on it, which you can get from Ford. They're like $8 or $9 each. I have an O-ring assortment here from Amazon, but these are nitrile, I believe, which are only good to like 240 degrees Fahrenheit, which would probably be fine. But Harbor Freight for $9 has a Viton, I don't know, Viton O-ring assortment, which is a different compound of rubber, which is rated to like 400 degrees. And they have the size in here that should be absolutely perfect. I already got one of them on there. You can see it's the brown one. So now not only do you have plenty of the O-rings for this project, but now you have other high temperature O-rings. I believe it's the number 115, which I think is that one. But yeah, Harbor Freight for the win. Just picked that up so I can rebuild these coolant tubes. We're going to use Permatex Gray or Ultra Gray per the factory recommendation to reseal the intercooler to the blower when that time comes. And finally, my injectors. Going to give these things a quick clean with this injector cleaner tool that I bought on Amazon. Basically, you take a thing of Carb Clean. You can use other products, but Carb Clean is, from what I read, safe for electronics, so it is going to get a little messy. But basically, you stick this thing in here, and I'll show you guys this in the B-roll footage, but you're going to stick this guy in there. You know what? I'm gonna show you in the B-roll footage because this is hard to do with one hand. Anyways, got my Milwaukee 12-volt battery here. Now if I hook this up, you guys hear that? That's the injector cycling, or opening and closing. So basically what you do, you need two hands, is push this down. Oh, it just popped it out. But yeah, it's gonna flow fluid through the injector and you can, you know, open and close it. So it does a really good job, and you can see your flow pattern if you got a piece of cardboard like I do. I already did one of these here, and then my gasket kit came with 16 new O-rings for the injectors. So we're gonna clean every single injector both ways, so flowing through the injector and then backwards through the injector. Then 2 new O-rings, one on each side. Give them a quick wipe down, and boom, there's our quote-unquote rebuilt injectors. We'll make sure they all have a good spray pattern, and then they'll be good to go back in the car. So just wanted to give you guys a quick update. I'm gonna keep moving here, keep going. Let's get all of this back together and basically how it was, you know, for you guys a few minutes ago when I took it apart. Let's get it all back together now that everything is serviced and surgically clean, and we can get it ready to go back on the motor. Oh yeah, and one other thing, it's very important. The bolts that hold the intercooler to the bottom of the supercharger, one-time use. Do not reuse them. They will break off in the supercharger when you try and reuse them, and then you'll spend hours trying to remove them. Just watch my yellow Cobra video. So yeah, one-time use. So when you're putting this back on, you need new bolts. I got mine on McMaster, quantity 100 of these things for like $8. They're M5 by 0.8 by 16 millimeters in length. If you can read that part number or DIN number there. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Your local hardware store might have them, but I had these left over from the yellow Cobra projects. One-time use. Do not reuse them. Man, all that work and this thing looks exactly the same as it did, you know, before I started all this. No, but in all seriousness, guys, obviously it looks very similar because I put it back exactly the same way, but we now have the peace of mind and confidence in knowing that every single gasket and seal in this entire assembly is brand new. The blower gasket, the O-rings down here that go through the intercooler tubes, the gasket right there, got some fresh paint on there. Everything is surgically clean, the blower is clean, turkey pan is clean, our injectors are clean, brand new O-rings on the injectors. Front to back, top to bottom, ready to go, Eaton Supercharger. So this normally would be ready to drop onto the motor, but I'm not gonna do that yet. We're gonna put it aside for now, and the reason is I need to get this thing ready to go back on the K-member. And the reason I need to do that is we need to get to the back of the motor here. We gotta get a new rear main seal and rear main cover plate on there, and we gotta get a clutch and flywheel on this thing. So the reason I'm not putting the blower on is the best lifting points, I think in my opinion, for these motors are on the block here. This is kind of a heavy motor and transmission to lift, in my opinion, from these smaller bolts on the heads here. So I'd like to basically get this thing 100% ready to go with the clutch and flywheel on it, and then drop it onto the K-member, and then we can put the blower on, and then we'll slide the whole thing back under the car, and then drop the car down on it. So, finally dug out. Our parts pile has shrunk significantly. A lot of it is right here on the bench because a lot of it is about to go on, and a lot of it has already been on the car. So we're getting there, guys. Here is my 26 spline McLeod RST clutch in all of its glory. Remember, a clutch is the only thing this car needs. Just needs a clutch, ready to roll. Just needs a clutch. Associated lightened steel flywheel. And then, of course, all the accoutrements that would go with that. We've got a brand new, that was loud, brand new clutch fork here. I have two different pivot balls. This one is the one that we're probably going to end up using. This is an adjustable one because we've got the Magnum and an RST clutch. We're probably going to need to take some measurements and make sure that we get the proper engagement of our new Ford Racing throwout bearing. And that's done by adjusting the pivot ball stud that's going to ride on. So yeah, all the stuff that you would expect and all the stuff that you'd want to do with a clutch. Throwout bearing, fork, pilot bearing, brand new Ford Racing flywheel bolts. And then obviously the clutch and flywheel as well. And then this is the rear main, I don't know what you call this, the rear main cover plate thing that the rear main seal goes in here. And that's just sealed up with a bead of black RTV. So I got to clean this thing up, get some fresh RTV on there, and then we can pop the rear main seal in. But before we do any of this, it's finally time for my beautiful built 4.6 liter Texid long block to come off the stand so we can start working on the back, so that we can get the clutch and flywheel on there and get it ready to mate back up to the transmission. So yeah, let's keep going, guys. This video is gonna be kind of a long one. And the goal for my videos is not for all of them to be an hour. I know you guys some of you guys probably like it, but I think I like to keep my videos usually about 40 minutes or under. But here's my dilemma here, was that in the end of the last video, we basically got the motor 100% done. You know, the thumbnail was cool. It was like, look at it, it's ready to go in. That's basically what the caption was. So I don't want to go, backwards. Even though we've done a lot of productive stuff in this video, I don't want this next video to be like, hey, the motor's still ready to go in, but there's less parts on it. That doesn't make any sense. So, other lesser YouTubers might have, put up a video by now that's half this length saying something like, the motor's still not in, question with like some crazy clickbait title about how the supercharger's off now and there's a problem, but I'm not doing any of that. You guys know the real deal here. I'm not going to hide anything from you guys. All this stuff just takes time. The cleaning, painting, prep work, doing stuff right takes time. And even if that means the video is going to be really long to get some actual real good progress, that's what I'm going to do. This is going to be a long video. We're going to get a lot of work done. But the goal for this video is to get the motor and transmission back in the car. I don't care if it's a 2-hour video. It probably won't be, but it's been like 2 weeks since I've uploaded just because I've been so busy with the holidays and some other stuff going on. But I'm going to do it for you guys. It's going to be a long one. I hope you're enjoying it thus far. We're not done yet. Let's get the tools out, let's get the clutch and flywheel on, and get one step closer to getting this motor back in the car. Alrighty guys, it is the next day. It is New Year's Day today, so Happy New Year to all you guys out there. We got the only thing this car needs, a clutch. So yeah guys, we got the clutch installed, fully installed, along with behind this, obviously the flywheel, new flywheel bolts, brand new pilot bearing, new rear main seal, even threw a quick coat of paint on the flywheel spacer, or bell housing spacer rather. Everything's torqued to spec, the floater plate, the pressure plate, everything is good to go here. So we are ready to get the bell housing on and then get the transmission on. But before we do that, I want to do a couple of things. So I think I noticed on the car when it was back up in the air, back when I first got it, that the tail housing was leaking. So when I placed my Rock Auto order, I think a new tail housing seal was like $3. So I got one, I just popped the old one out. So we'll pop a new one of those in. So we'll have a brand new tail housing seal. You'll also notice that the T56 Magnum 6-bolt shifter is off of the car. You also saw in the B-roll footage, I got some goodies. So a viewer of the channel, Dustin here, all of his information is here on his card, and I'll put it in the description as well. Dustin works for Tick Performance, and if you hadn't heard of Tick Performance before, what are you doing? But Tick Performance is probably the leading manufacturer of T56 parts, 6-speed parts, 5-speed parts, just transmission parts in general. I've been buying Tick Performance parts for almost all of my vehicles, whether it's speed bleeders or clutches or anything else, for years now, way before I had a YouTube channel, and they've always been great. So when Dustin reached out to me and said, hey, can I help with the build in any way? I said, well, the car's got the factory the T56 Magnum factory shifter, which is okay, but it's got some design flaws. And he said, let me send you one of our brand new, we just designed it, just finished it, 6-bolt T56 Magnum shifters. You can give it a try, and of course I was more than happy to do so. So here's the stock T56 Magnum shifter. Uses a gasket on the bottom there that tends to leak. It's okay, it's, it'll get the job done, but this one obviously has seen some wear, and why wouldn't we want to replace it with a brand new, made in the USA, Tick Performance 6-bolt Magnum shifter. This one, instead of using RTV on the bottom, uses a nice gasket there. This is a billet aluminum T6061, I believe, anodized in a nice red. Uses their proprietary gasket here, which shouldn't leak. And what's really cool about this shifter is the interchangeability and the adjustability. So these cars, you guys who've had these cars, you know that the shifter can be kind of tricky to get to. So all of these arms can basically bolt on to the top here in any orientation, which can bring the shifter closer to you or farther away, depending on what you're looking for, as well as being available in a variety of different lengths. So depending on how big you are, how long your reach is, you can use a whole different number of combinations of these and get the shifter where it needs to be. In addition, I think this shifter claims it's probably the shortest throw on the market, so good solid shifts. So we're gonna get this installed as well. Again, thank you Dustin for sending me that. So I think we're finally really close. Let's get that shifter bolted up, get the new seal in the tail housing, get the transmission mated to the motor, maybe pop the Eaton on, and maybe see if we can't slide the K-member under the car, and then lower the car onto the engine and see if we can officially declare this video a success in installing our drivetrain. Let's get to work. wasn't too long ago that we were in this exact position just on the way out and with a much dirtier and blown up Cobra motor. But here we are, guys. This is basically where we were like 5 or maybe 5.5 weeks ago. So even though it's felt like forever to me and probably to you guys as well, it really has not been that long. We are ready to go back in the car. Got the new TIC Performance shifter bolted up to the T56 Magnum. Thing feels awesome, looks awesome. So once again, thank you to Dustin and TIC Performance for sending me that. So excited to see how that feels. Spent 20 minutes fighting with the transmission to get it to line up and finally engage into the threads. You guys who've ever done a clutch know that it doesn't matter the platform, whether it's a C6, C5, you know, Resto Mod, Cobra, just getting those splines and the angle of the dangle just right is really difficult, but even with the motor out of the car. So finally wrestled with that long enough to get it in there. Got all the transmission bolts bolted to the bell housing, everything torqued. We are good to go there. Finally pulled the K-member from its position that it sat for the last 5 weeks under the car, pulled it out here, got it under the engine stand, dropped the motor and transmission together onto the K-member, and bolted up my brand new motor mounts there to the K-member. So we've got one solid unit here that is pretty much ready to go back in the car. I say pretty much because there's still one more thing that I'd like to do. We don't have to do it right now, but I'd like to do it just because it's right here in my face. And that's put the supercharger on. If you guys remember when I was first taking this motor out or deciding that I was going to take the motor out, I was debating taking it out the top because I wanted the car to be mobile, which is comical looking back because I've basically done nothing but work on this thing in my spare time and would have had no time to do anything else anyways. But once the motor was coming out the bottom, you know, all that work that I did to remove the supercharger, all that work is really not that much. But the work that I did to remove the supercharger was kind of a waste because you could have just left it on the car if the car is coming off the motor. So I want to put the supercharger back on the car because literally all I have to do is lift it right here from the workbench. We already completely went through this thing. Dig through my gasket box there. Put 2 gaskets, one here and one here, plop that thing on, bolt it down, torque it down. Might see if I can do any of the difficult connections right here on the back of the supercharger, and we're done. And then this whole thing can just slide under the car and go in. Also, you guys saw me working on this harness a little bit right here. I think this is our main battery and starter harness. You got the power wire that goes all the way down to the starter. Here's our janky Walmart cable that I bought way back in October just to try and get this thing started. Only because I couldn't find something like this. So those things are junk. Buddy, it was actually Josh, who was working on the Lightning with me earlier in this video, brought one of these to me, which is a more OEM style cable. So I just got that clamped on there, shrunk wrap on there, looking very OEM, just like the negative terminal over here. So also, I've been working on cleaning up these harnesses. These things were dusty, dirty, just like the rest of the car. Didn't want dusty, dirty harnesses on my brand new clean motor. So you guys saw I kind of cleaned this harness up. Looks really good, even though you can't really see it. I just want everything clean and looking nice before it goes on the motor. So with all that being said, let's hopefully wrap this video up, get that beautiful Eaton supercharger on that even more beautiful Texid forged long block. Get the last of the wiring harnesses and any other little, odds and ends wrapped up, and get this motor in that freaking car. Let's go. Why didn't you guys tell me to put the starter in before I put on the K-member? I'm sitting here with 17 feet of extensions and a wobble and tape, and now I'm too stubborn to take this thing off the K-member and do it right, so I'm going to sit here and struggle for the next 30 minutes. You guys should have told me. Well, what are these bolts? I guess that one. All right, crisis averted. The old tape and universal extension worked. Onward. Starter's in. I can't believe it, but the Cobra motor is finally back in the car. As I mentioned, it's really only been like 5 weeks, but it feels like a mountain of work has been completed, and it has. But you guys have been there with me, and you've been watching the videos, and for that I'm very thankful that we were able to do this together, but holy crap, it's in there. And man, does it look right at home. I'm so glad I took the time to paint those valve covers. The coil covers look sick. I mean, look at the whole package. Look at that. Look at how clean everything looks. Still got a little bit of work to do on the AC compressor. Don't you worry about that. But just look at this. I had to put some painter's tape on the valve covers just while it was going in. I was afraid some stuff might rub, like this AC line and these AC lines down here, which they did. So if you guys are doing something like this, even if you're going in from the bottom, stuff can rub. So if you've got these beautiful painted or powder coated valve covers, just be wary of rub points, even wire harnesses and fuel lines and stuff. So we'll tear all that off. This thing is gonna look so sick. No more leaks, hopefully. But wow, I just can't believe it. It looks awesome. The motor is finally back in the car. The Cobra finally has a heart again. Well, I said I was gonna do it, and I did it. I said I was not ending this video until the motor was back in the car, and it's back in. And now this video is definitely way too long, but I'm sure you guys are gonna enjoy it. I apologize for the delay in getting out the last video of the holidays, and some stuff after that were just absolutely crazy. So thank you guys for bearing with me. I promise it will not be as long before the next one. I'm gonna get right to work on the next one tomorrow. It's very late tonight. I gotta get inside and go to bed, but there's still plenty of work to do before this thing is able to run, but also not that much. So I'm hoping that in the next video, we can hear this thing crank over and possibly even fire up. So you guys are not gonna wanna miss that one. So thank you as always for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Yeah, definitely need this right now. Cheers, Cobra.